H-1B visa holders will benefit, looks like, from the trade talk between the United States of America and India that's ongoing. It started last month in April when J.D. Vance visited India, and obviously there was a reprieve in the
tariffs that were imposed upon India.
90 days, yes. Now, we are not news reporters, we are lawyers from the law firm of Shihab Burke with me.
Brian Burke from Shihab Burke.
And I'm Sam Shihab, but we couldn't help but to see the talk about the stability of the H-1B visa for Indians, Indian nationals, as a byproduct of the trade talk.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you're saying, well, we're not reporters, but we are lawyers, and you know, immigration is inherently political. It's not just immigration. You know, we talk about it in this venue sometimes like it's something internal to the United States, but I mean, immigration is the great big giant handshake between nations. It's that we're going to treat, you know, how we're going to treat the people of another country, and this sort of thing comes up in trade talks. It's, you know, the sort of narrative in trade talks is there are tons of folks from India in the United States.
So, so speaking about politics, so the India and the UK just concluded a trade deal
of their own,
of their own, and in it there was a set aside and benefit to India for visas. Now, Indians are also the biggest users of work visa in the UK for the same reason here in the U.S. There's no difference.
Yeah, lots of people in the technology field. It's the most populous country in the world. It makes sense.
I think they use 80,000 work visas a year from the allotted 300 and some thousand.
Yeah, the comparison point in the U.S. is I think it's Indians account for 70% of H-1B visas, the most popular type of working visa for sure.
But by numbers, UK is higher. So UK set aside for Indian national use of India is 80,000 visas a year, whereas maybe 70% for us, but 70% of 80,000 is a lot less. A lot less. So surprisingly, you know, UK is a smaller country. But the other issue that's really interesting is, and these are general numbers that we've kind of put together from general reading and review. So the tariffs that India imposes on the U.S., which is about 12 to 13% on imported goods, account to about $5 billion of revenue to India.
Not a huge amount,
But the money H-1B holders send to India is estimated at about $25 billion. So now they know what happened to Trump 1.0 and the problems.
Yeah, that they were very nasty to H-1B visa holders
And India clearly has an interest in stabilizing the H-1B program for their national in.
Yeah, and that's like the funny part of the conversation. We're always sitting here talking with a very sort of U.S.-centric, internal, these four walls of the country and our consulates abroad view, but there are other people who have interests in our immigration systems. It's, you know, trade is, you know, international trade and tariffs, you know, it seems logically something that's totally separate, but these things go hand in hand. Everything is political, and immigration is included in that.
And there seems to be a very amenable relationship right now going on between the U.S. administration and the Indian administration. Now, here's another piece of information that very interesting. So, the Trump administration wanted to send a set number of undocumented national Indians, and Modi said, bring them on. There was no resistance whatsoever.
Yeah, it is very fascinating. Like, you know, think of the level of acrimony coming from, you know, the executive branch of the United States to people who, you know, you think we're supposed to be friendliest with, like Canada, for example, or Greenland. It's who are they sort of picking on right now? And not that there's ever a really truly acrimonious relationship between India and the United States, but again, you're right. It's something I haven't really thought about too much. But the leadership there, you know, you're not hearing, you know, in the news, it's like country XYZ is taking advantage of us. You're not hearing that for India. It's very interesting.
Well, you talk about mature people on both sides of the relationship, and they understand what they can negotiate for and what they cannot, and everybody's eye on the prize, right? The United States wants to reduce that tariff. They think that tariff is unfair. And I think India has already dropped it to I think 3 or 4%. I don't know what the number, but they've already responded. Now the other thing, Brian, is the undocumented Indians in the U.S. was a shocking number. The estimates are between 250,000 to 700,000 illegal Indians in the U.S. right now, depending on who's counting. You know, USCIS is counting them at 250,000. Another independent agency counting as high as 700. Probably the truth is somewhere in the middle.
Exactly.
But India's saying we'll take all of them.
Yeah.
So who benefits? H-1B holders. Why? Because the relationship is on track. Everybody's on track.
They're on the same page. It's
what India wants is to stabilize the H-1B visa, which is an easy thing, easy request, not a difficult request. What the United States want is reduce the tariff and deal with the undocumented. Both issues are resolved in a very positive way. So win-win.
Yeah. So I mean, let's talk about what that stabilization of the H-1B is, maybe a little bit more detail. So. Won't pull punches. Last time around H-1B visas prior to Donald Trump administration, it was quite nasty. About
for Indian nationals.
Yeah, for Indian nationals and Indian-owned companies. It's basically they were coming after them pretty hard. And we talked about the statistics, in this venue probably several times. It's during those years, denials were way up. Initial H-1B denials were way up. Renewals denials were way up. It was miserable. And the question I asked when we were talking about this beforehand is, how they can't write that in. They can't be be nicer to H-1B workers as a trade agreement, right? But how do you think they actually manifest that a better relationship on that front in terms of a trade agreement?
Just like any agreement between two adults, there is a document that's written, and then there is a document that's not written.
Yeah.
And the document that's not written is more important than the document that's written, right?
It's how do you act afterwards.
It's like with your neighbor. There's a property line. You're not going to cross the property line, but if you like your neighbor, you're going to say good morning to him. If you see something unusual, you call the police for them, right?
Yeah.
You take care of your neighbor.
Yeah.
So if it's a positive relationship, they take care of each other. It doesn't have to be in writing.
Yeah, the fun thing about international law and international agreements is that they only stay in place. The status quo is these are independent nations. They no obligation to one another. The status quo, whatever they agree upon, only remains the agreement as long as the parties are happy. Yeah. So if one country, say, I don't know, the United States, treats H-1B workers badly, treats Indian nationals badly, if India doesn't like the state of that, they can take something entirely different and raise those tariffs again. The status quo is only maintains as long as both parties are happy universally.
So India seems to, clearly the immigration is a top part, a big deal for them.
Yeah.
And what we hear, nothing formal, nothing official, is that the cancellation of the F1 student visa, half of them were Indians. And that was kind of concern that was brought up. That what's going on there? We're trying to make sure that our people don't get humiliated in the U.S.
That was that being a popular talking point.
Yeah.
Again, that's kind of what international. Again, there's in terms of internally in the United States as we sit here in U.S. immigration land, the United States can do whatever they want. Our immigration laws are our own. A trade agreement with India is not going to change what those laws are. But basically, not pissing off the people who are going to be your friends is something that they can retaliate. They can retaliate in any way they want. And if you treat Indian citizens badly, we might find another way. We can't influence your internal immigration policy, but we might find another way to treat you poorly. But again, everybody's on the same page.
Yeah.
And that's why we're sitting here being optimistic.
Winners are the H-1B visa holder and the H-1B visa program. And I am a skeptic of this administration. I'm not going to lie.
Sure. As you should be. We were here last time,
Yeah, but I have to say one thing. Trump 2.0 is a more mature version of Trump 1.0.
Yeah, as I think about it here, the sort of fun thing to watch last time was how long would it take that first Trump administration get their hands on the controls and start sort of executing their vision for whatever in immigration and everywhere else, right?
There was no vision to execute.
Well,
there was a destruction. There was no vision. There was chaos.
But last time it took until about May until we started seeing impacts on immigration stuff, and they have started executing their immigration vision, and I'm thinking it hasn't really manifested in terms of H-1B and employment immigration, yes, and the sort of state of relations between the United States and India keeps me hopeful that maybe we won't see such a bad time this time around. If the immigration narrative is, if we talk to an average person, I try to not talk about my job with other people who aren't immigration attorneys, because it's polarizing for a certain part of people. But usually what people will say is, I'm perfectly fine with people coming to the United States as long as they do so legally. And there's so many folks from India coming to the United States legally. And so what kind of message are you sending? If you don't, abide by legal system, legal people? Good thing.
Yep. H-1B visa benefits. U.S. India trade talks is on the right track, which is good news.
Yeah.
Let's turn our attention to immigration questions.us.
Immigrationquestions.us is that fun little website, Sam, we have that's owned by us, and it's where you can send questions to us during the week.
And we'll answer some of them here for you.
Yeah.
And then after we take a couple of those, you can post your questions on
live here.
And we will then answer them as they pop in, and then we'll come back and grab more immigrationquestions.us questions as we complete the half an hour. Just remember, there's not an attorney-client relationship. We're just answering questions based on simple facts you give us.
Simple answers.
Yes. All right, take the first one, Brian.
So this is one from immigrationquestions.us from Jathy. Good evening, Sam and Brian. My advanced parole expired while I was in India. I came back to the U.S. on a valid H-1B stamp, and then my pending advanced parole filed in April 2023 is approved. Is the new advanced parole considered valid now, and can it be used for future travel?
Excellent question.
Yeah. And, I really have trouble turning down a lawfully approved immigration document, but based upon what this person's telling me, we know the policy is that if you leave the United States while your advanced parole is pending, right? They should deny the advanced parole that you have. Meaning, I'd be.
But is that an extension, maybe?
Yeah, I know. I realize, because if I pause for a second, it's basically here's the scenario though. They say they had a valid advanced parole, and that advanced parole expired while they were outside the United States. And so as I recall, their policy is if you don't have a valid advanced parole, we're going to deny your advanced parole while you're outside the United States. And that advanced parole expired while they're outside the United States, meaning I think that might have been not approved contrary to their policy. We've heard of this before.
That means that if this advanced parole is an extension of a prior advanced parole, the fact that you're outside the United States when one expired and the other one is approved is not a concern. Is that what you're saying?
No, that is a concern. Is a concern for me, because the way I interpret the policy, and I'm interpreting this policy very conservatively, is that might lead to if you outside the United States without a valid advanced parole, we're going to deny a subsequent advanced parole. Is my sort of take on it.
Well, luckily she's on an H-1B visa. Yeah. So what shall she do with this advanced parole?
So this is where it becomes a bit more complicated. So I'm hesitant to think about using that. But what can you do? You could file for a new advanced parole, right? I would bet if you file for that advanced parole and they eventually get to processing it, they'll say, you already have an advanced parole, my friend. What are you doing here? And in that application, you could basically explain to them I was outside of the United States while this is pending. Thus, per my understanding of your policy, that's why I'm asking for a new one. If you don't give them that information, I think you're likely to get a RFE or ultimately decision notice that says, no, you already have one, my friend. And not telling them about a problem doesn't necessarily fix it.
So what you're recommending is file for a new one. Explain to them that the previous one that's approved, you're suspicious of its validity because you were outside the United States, and for them to either clarify or approve a new one in lieu of this one.
Yeah, obviously, if this is a scenario where your case was filed before April 1st, 2024, it's a no cost to file it aside from actually having to do the work and file the form. So.
Got it. Next one, Brian.
Let's see here. From Rose. Given current politics, should I proactively file Supplement J? If yes, where? The original lockbox address, or where I-45 cases transferred to NBC in Missouri. Prior to the address became current, and previous FOIA request shows interview waived, marked on 485. What I would say about, so
Yes, the answer. Yes, you can proactively file supplement J.
Sure.
Now, where you got to go on that website and find where your
government
case.
guidance on it. It's hard for us to answer questions like that live
Yeah.
without knowing, kind of having all the facts in front
We
of us.
kind of go into general answers, not specifics. All right, wonderful. So I got few more here, but let's take Runyan's call, and then we'll take a couple immigration questions.
Sure. So here it is from Runyan, who's asked some questions about a pending MTR on a I-485, as I recall in the past. If somebody has a pending MTR and they don't have advanced parole, can they get emergency AP if they need to travel? And there's a sort of follow-up question here. And while waiting for the MTR, how do we know whether the AP got approved before denial is valid? I'm not quite sure I understand that question. But
so can you file an advanced parole when an MTR is pending? So the case has to be re-established.
Reopened.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure a receipt notice is a reopening.
Yeah. So when you file a motion to reopen, the first thing you get is a receipt for your I-290B that says we received your I-290B. You request to reopen the case. All right. And then the next step is usually these things happen. Usually. On an MTR where they denied a case, I would expect the following things to happen, presuming your priority date's current. First of all, they would reopen the case, and then, if they thought they could approve the case, approve it right then. And I guess the short answer around this is, if you don't have a reopen notice that says your I-485 case has been reopened, I would say they consider your I-485 denied, meaning they're pretty unlikely to.
It's going to have to clearly state the case has been reopened, and if they reopen the cases, they usually reopen and approve at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So most likely, if you have a pending MTR, your case is not reopened yet. The fact that you got a receipt notice does not mean it's reopened.
We don't have to do tons of MTRs, but usually when you see those reopen notices, it's at the same time as you get a decision.
They do it at the same time.
Yeah.
Or they reject the reopening and they send you a rejection.
Yeah, I guess
after they take your money.
Yeah, I'd say the only scenario where you're not likely to see it, if this was denied 485, they finally ready to make a decision and they denied it. If your priority date is not current, of course, they could, in theory, they could reopen the case, put it back into in process. And under that scenario, take your AP filing. Yeah.
Yes. All right. So let's take a question here from immigrationquestions.us. How much in advance I have to think about self-employment for under supplement J?
Yeah. Well, so when it comes to like starting a business, what is a business in, say, in our state, for example, the state of Ohio? It's a filing you can literally do on any given afternoon. You pay a fee, you complete a form. Brian Burke Incorporated exists on paper, right? But I don't know, Sam, is a corporation on paper enough to do an I-45J portability?
No, you have to do a little bit more. I mean, I'm thinking about that a little bit here. I mean, you have to have a payroll set up. I mean, it all depends on is the interview next week?
Yeah, timing.
If the interview is next week, it's a problem.
Yeah.
But if the interview or your priority date is a year or two out, I wouldn't rush it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't rush it, right?
Yeah, it's the sort of thing where, like, if you have your sponsoring employer, you're with them, and you start hearing about, layoffs in a couple months, and you have an EAD and you're not maintaining status anyway, that's when you might start thinking about planning something in the background. I guess the point is, the answer is, if it's all you have, if you have an RFE, due in a week asking for a supplement J, and you come to me and ask me for help, I'm going to say, you got a serious.
I'm not worried about those little issues. I'm worried about, do you have a payroll set up? What evidence can you show there's self-employment? Do you have work in the pipeline? Wow. Have you contracted for actual
when that RFE just asks for a supplement J, I'm going to get that supplement J out the door through your shiny new employer you just created for yourself, and turbocharge getting the things out the door.
It's a race between the interview and what you can put together, and then you do the best you can to present your case.
Yeah, I talked to somebody about this recently who I was very impressed with. Like, they'd been planning this, as a sort of a backup plan for months. And I said, wow, you're a really impressive person. But if somebody comes to me and says, I got that 87-day RFE, or they're asking for a supplement J, and I have no job, that's when I say, well, I'd say two things you can do: get that company founded, you make it look like, walk like, talk like a duck, and pursue a job at the same time. Pursue all options that are available to you, really.
Yeah. The other thing, Brian, is the maturity of that person. So some people, I got consultation yesterday. People say, "Well, how do you create an LLC? What's an LLC? What does it mean? What's the tax ID number?" People have very minimal understanding of how businesses run. They're great at what they do on the scientific front, whether it's computer science or whatever they're doing, or engineering. But when it comes to real business, zero knowledge or weak knowledge, those people will struggle and need more time.
They need runway. They need help. Because there's certain people I talk to about this. I say, you probably, you are going to need you need my services to advise you how to do this, because respectfully, you're a mess. Yeah. Whereas I talk to some people, say, you have done everything that I could think of, frankly, to get this thing off the ground.
But I would say a couple of months. I'll give people 2 months is a good, reasonable time to kind of launch this thing. Right?
Yeah, it's kind of I agree, but it's kind of a fun scenario to think about. If you have that RFE and you're out of time back against the wall, register that business, supplement J for yourself, and save your green card, and do everything. And
would USCIS say that that business was created after the RFE and therefore it's suspect? No.
They can say whatever they want. If that's the option you have left, that's the one you're gonna take, and you take the best option you have available to you. You know.
Yeah. So we got one here from Nitin Kulkarni, and then we'll go into a couple questions that we have here too.
Yeah.
Traveling to research EDU through his existing school for 9 months. Okay, that's not complete.
Yeah, does it appear that we're getting...
So, Nitin, go ahead and put the whole thing one more time, because we did not get the full thing.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good. So we got one from one more here. Have you heard about requesting biometrics for I-140 on I-140 RFEs?
Yeah.
So is USCIS requesting background check on I-140 RFEs? But how in the heck can they do that? The petition is not even for the employee. It's not even signed by them.
So there's a trend out there. It's on H-1Bs as well. They're sending out RFEs on H-1Bs and I-140s saying, hey, we want John Doe to come in for biometrics. And I was reading a news, not a news article, a blog from those folks at the Center for Immigration Studies. You remember those guys? They're sort of a right-wing sort of think tank on immigration. Yeah. And they're sort of, they love this concept. And they said, oh, the media is freaking out about it. But the bottom line is, people come to the United States on working visas, and they go years without anybody verifying that they are who they say they are. And they're kind of right on that. I guess every time somebody goes for stamping at the consulate, they're going to do some biometrics, right?
If you got nothing to hide, you're in this country, cooperate.
Yeah, I guess my sort of counterpoint to that is the employers engage in I-9 verification with these people all the time, and basically I-9 is a system of trust in U.S. employers, and I'm not really worried about. Again, this is. If their concern is unlawful immigration to the United States, this seems like they're picking on employment-based immigrants a little bit, in doing that.
Yeah.
I'm not really concerned about those RFEs yet, but because I haven't seen any news about any negative implications. People just show up for biometrics and are sent on their merry way. But I heard some versions of these RFEs said there was negative information about the person that they didn't disclose, but we want you to come in for biometrics.
Well, you just ask the person, is there anything we should know about now? Is the time to tell us? So
always it's on USCIS, though, to give evidence. And they can't just say, we have negative information and we're going to use it against you. Part of any good RFE response to that is that, hey, government, you're saying...
Well, it's part of the enhanced vetting.
I know. I'm surprised I didn't do one of these yet myself, but it's definitely part of that for sure.
So do you think the trade talks can help green card holders, Indian green card holders in the U.S.?
Well...
So that one, I'll give you the answer. No, because I don't think the administration can, but the question becomes, how much is he going to get the right wing folks mad at him. I mean, he can definitely do a lot.
He is,
But he hasn't, I don't think they're focused on it. And I bet you anything India will not push on it. Here's the sad thing. Nobody has any interest in moving
employment.
this green card forward.
2 years ago, Sam, they were so close. They were so close to a reconciliation bill
but nobody has interest. U.S. employers have no interest. Yep. They don't care.
Oh yeah,
they can work all day long. They can work another 100 years
and
not get a green card. I don't think Indian administration cares. How can they care? I mean, you work on an H-1B, you're sending money here. Work on an H-1B and send money here. Why do we care? I mean, their constituents, which is IT companies, but stand to lose by shortening that H-1B 10-year, 15-year duration. So that is not going to be a push. So there's no one is pushing to unless and until these people stop coming here.
Employment immigration sure is a fun topic. Even as an immigration attorney, Sam, we are people who specialize in employment immigration. It's our bread and butter. You're not. I'm not here to boast, but it's what we do, and it's even in our. Everybody ignores employment immigration. It's not. All the hearts and minds, the heart-wrenching stories about people at the border, families being separated. People just don't really kind of raise that. So, and we have tons of great stories in employment immigration. It's just not popular.
Even within the Indian communities, there are two communities. There is those who own businesses. They live in a sphere and have their needs that is not exactly the same need as those Indian non-immigrant visa holders. Those guys live in a circle. Those other guys live in another circle. It's not a unified front in terms of what they want. Unfortunately. So I don't think the trade talk will help the green card for India. Unfortunately.
I mean, it is changing that is either an executive order on backlogs or a change in the law, and the change in the law doesn't seem likely.
So we got a question here that came in from Suresh M. My I-485 is pending for the last 6 months, initiated H-1B extension process. My dependent have a green card EAD. Do you think they also need H-4 extension? And my answer is, I think yes. Let me tell you why. Because these adjustments, we're just talking to this other gentleman who has a government error with a denied adjustment of status. And he's emotionally in shambles. The family emotionally in shambles. The stress, I mean, how about if you buy car insurance, right? You buy car insurance. How often do you get into a car accident? Once into 20 years? But you pay it year in and year out, and it's expensive. It's not cheap, at least in my household. I have two teenagers.
You have two teenagers, daughter, same doesn't count,
But it's expensive, and he does too, sounds like. It's expensive, so what the heck? Get the H-4, 100%. No question in my mind.
I mean, the way I always talk to people is like, you've been, on a layer of thin ice for the last, 10, 15 years, however long it took you to get a green card filed. That H-1B, H-4 combo was 100% taking care of you, and you finally just got another layer of protection to have a green card pending as a backup. Keep them both. Bask in that, in having something another net to fall into, and take advantage of it. It's the cost to do one of those is relatively small. It's I can never remember the file fee. A couple $100 for a family on H-4, and it's not like immigration attorneys charge much for it. It's not.
So here's one, and we'll probably conclude with this one as we hit the 6:30. And this one's going to take a long time, but we'll give it 1 minute.
Okay.
I heard about E2 visa option. Can you explain? Is it possible for India? We will probably pick that up next time. But go ahead and give it a minute.
E2 visa for Indians? No.
It doesn't exist today.
It doesn't exist today.
Yeah, it's for people who for countries that have treaty of cooperation with the United States that's been entered into many, many years ago. Pakistan has one.
Yeah.
But
Special treaty that
India
says
doesn't have one because India, the political history of India is interesting. The warming of a relationship between India and the United States evolved in the last 20 years or so. Prior to that, India was kind of a little bit more not on that same camp.
Yeah.
But obviously, the economics of things have changed. But most European countries have it. Countries like Japan, a couple of Middle Eastern countries have it. Canada, Mexico.
Yeah.
And if you have one of these, if you have an E2, want to have those E2 treaty, you can invest $100,000 and live perpetually. It's not a green card, but you can live perpetually in the United States.
I just, whenever I talk to, like, in terms of
not an AB5.
in terms of like entrepreneurial people, the bottom line is there are a lot of people from India in the United States. Part of the one that, and I talk to them a lot about all sorts of immigration options. And man, some of the most entrepreneurial folks, you're gonna meet. And I want to start a business. I really wish that E2 visa option was there.
It would be an amazing benefit for them.
I mean, historically, there's been countries where if you have enough money, you can essentially E2 countries where you can pay to get citizenship, but those things are sort of going away, and it's not really a practical or easy solution for most people.
With that, we conclude today, guys. Thank you so much. Our next session is Monday at 6 o'clock for 30 minutes. Bring your question or drop them at immigrationquestions.us during the week, and we will give them a swing, and we'll try to address another topic of interest